This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered legal, medical, or mental health advice. The views and opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the podcast and are not intended to malign any religion, group, club, organization, business, individual, anyone, or anything.
Hey y'all, Sarah here. Here's a replay of A Little Bit Culty Patreon episode we originally published just for our lovely, lovely patrons. But now that it's been out there for a while, we asked our patrons and they said, go right ahead. Let people who haven't joined ALBC Patreon know what they're missing with our blessings. So here you go. You can get more bonus episodes plus ad-free flagship episodes and other fun stuff over on Patreon, including lip balm. Nope, it's not a cult. It's just a little bit culty. Find us at patreon.com/a-little-bit-culty. Hi, Dad.
Hello.
Hi, Dad-in-law.
Hi, son-in-law.
Welcome to A Little Bit Culty. This is a long time coming.
Yeah, happy to be here.
This is great. Are you nervous?
Yeah, half and half. Not really.
So for those who don't know you, can you give us a little preamble of where you're from and what you do and what Jim Edmondson's all about?
Whoa, that's a big question. Okay, so I work from the now, which is that now I'm a private practitioner and I assist my partner in her quest to bring her particular approach to psychotherapy to the world, which is cutting edge and relates to the top neuroscientists in the world and also to the creativity, imagination, and playfulness of the sand tray, using a therapeutic model promoted by Virginia Satir, which is systemic and experiential. And I love that work. It relates to my interest in theater. And I'm originally from England, came to Canada in 1973 and brought up Sarah, first of all, in another marriage, brought up my son, Devon, and was a school teacher and then a school counselor for about 35 years and retired in 2015.
You're also a very talented folk singer.
That's partially true.
The alter ego of Mr. Bojangles.
Yes, Dad's nickname is Mr. Bojangles in the best possible way, but he's very good on the guitar, incredible with harmony, and
very good with our children.
Incredible with our children. The best part, the reason he's here in Atlanta is that we're going to be in Boston on a speaking engagement, and he's here to be with the kids and take them to and from school and baseball games, and couldn't think of a better person to take care of our kids because when they are finished with him, they are happier, their math is better, their reading skills have improved, their social, emotional skills are sharpened, and they're taller.
Bigger, stronger, faster.
And my dad will be the first to tell me, what we need to work on as parents and how the kids are doing. They've been therapized, assessed, supported, and loved deeply. So we're very happy he's
it's so
here.
much fun. They're two great kids. Love being with them and so happy to be here.
Well, the best part about the Patreon community is not a mere 20 minutes ago we posted that we were going to do this, and we already have 10 comments. And I thought I'd just ease you into this conversation with, this is from Heather Moss, and she wants to know a funny story from you about when I was a little girl. She loves hilarious, precocious kid stories. So if you have anything off the top of your head.
Oh, that's an easy one.
Which one? I'm nervous.
You're 2 years old and we're visiting my parents in England. And my parents are aristocrats, and there's a long, 12-foot table, and there's food being delivered to the people around the table, and the chairs have little sort of ears poking up at the back, and the dish that's being delivered, in this case, slips out of the catches in the back of the, what do you call those, oven mitts, and the dish sort of shoots out and lands on the lap of the person who they were serving. And Sarah's response was, "Fucking Jesus."
Sorry to any,
Which is, my dad is an Anglican minister and my mom is very proper. So I do completely the wrong thing and I drag her out of the room and scold her vociferously for saying this. And for the rest of the holiday, it was, "Fucking Jesus, fucking Jesus, fucking Jesus."
Yes, apparently when I was playing with my dolls, fucking Jesus, fucking Jesus. So that's a famous Edmondson story for sure. I thought that would just warm you up a little bit, Dad.
Easy peasy.
Easy peasy. Do you want to ask this one?
Tony Wormold, how does it feel to be the father and father-in-law to some of the coolest cats in town? All right. LOL. Hope you all have a nice visit. Thank you, Tony.
So are you asking me something?
The question was, you might have to articulate a little more. The question was, how does it feel to be the father and father-in-law to some of the coolest cats in town?
All right. So however often these podcasts come out, I'm listening on a drive that I take to my partner's house just outside of Vancouver, and I look forward to them. I'm totally engaged with them. I learn from them. I'm impressed with them. And
Thank you, Jim.
I'm so glad that this podcast has come out of this awful situation that you've been through, both of you.
Thank you, Jim.
So for those who don't know your history with Nexium, I'll do a little summary because we've got lots of other more sort of intricate questions after the fact. Mm-hmm. But you watched me go through this. You saw me being very zealous at the beginning, and I tried to bring you in, and you were hesitant at the beginning. And then you took a 5-day training 5 years later. What was that process like for you? In fact, one of the questions was, what was it like for you to see me go through it? You have experience in the field.
That was the thing that made me want to take it, was watching what happened to you as you went through the program and how it benefited your, just your way of dealing with life, dealing with the trials and tribulations of being in a separated family situation, of growing up, going to university. It just seemed like things were really coming together for you as a result of doing this program.
Yeah. And then what?
And then at 5 years later, you decided to do it.
I think that's where I first met him.
At his 5-day?
Yeah.
You were at his first 5-day training?
I don't know if it was his 5-day, but I think I met him at the center.
You did meet me at the center.
Yeah. And he was had been on a goals program for a while, I think, when I first met you.
What was your first 5-day like?
Yeah, no, it was impressive. There was a bunch of things that made me feel pretty uncomfortable, apart from the fact that I had quite severe back pain throughout the entire experience.
Did you EM that?
It's too much kneeling. No, just kidding. It was, it was impressive the way that the program got me to examine myself, my internal world, and take another look at it and see if I wanted to do some things better, differently. So it made me want to continue, and so that's what I did.
So Tracy Southall, she wants to hear about your first impressions of Keith and Nancy, and what did you think of V-Week? Any details that you can share?
Right. Okay, so my first impression of Nancy was, this is the part of the program that was the first kind of big red flag, was, lots of discussion, lots of good techniques for getting people to talk about stuff. What is this? What is that? What is responsibility? And what do you mean by that? And all of that kind of
you love that
participatory involvement. And then Nancy comes on the screen and tells you what the answer is. So that was my impression of Nancy.
The working answer.
The working answer.
And I use air quotes behind that.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, this is the answer we're working with.
That's right.
But memorize it, and we'll indoctrinate you with this
That's right.
meaning.
And there'll be a test. And there was a test, and I failed twice, miserably. And my first impressions of Keith were, I was disappointed, actually. Yeah. There was two impressions. One was him sitting in the front of the group at the YMCA camp where they held V-Week, on the stage, legs dangling over the stage, answering any questions that anybody had for him, and answering them very succinctly and smartly, in my opinion. So that was on the one hand. On the other hand, I thought of this idea that I thought would be impressive for him to look at how people undergo change. And I described to him this diagram with the two marbles, one traveling down a 45-degree angled chute, a channel, and the other going in a curve, going straight down and then ending up at the same point as the one that went 45 degrees. And the one that gets there first, even though it looks like it's not going to, is the marble going straight down. And that's a mathematical phenomenon that's easily understood by people and could be easily demonstrated, and shows you that if you don't make progress and you don't make progress and you don't make progress, and you suddenly make a lot of progress and go shooting forward in your life. And his response to that was, that's good, but, and then he showed me a few diagrams drawing in the air about what else could be done. It wasn't the response of a leader. It wasn't the response of somebody who is encouraging, ideas. I wasn't impressed.
So knowing what you know now, what do you think he was doing?
I think he was demonstrating that there's, I've got more work to do, and that I need to pay attention to what he's saying and not promote my, version of it.
Right. He put you in your place.
Absolutely. Put me in my place, 100%. It wasn't thoughtful. It wasn't generous. It wasn't, it's not the behavior of a leader is what I said to myself at the time.
It's the first time hearing that story.
Yeah.
Well, he's in prison.
Yeah, I know. I'm super glad about that.
Yeah, he's been doing diagrams on the wall. So let me back up for a second. You did the 5-day and then you did the 11-day. So you finished your 16-day training and then you continued on with ethos. And I remember you being a very good student. You came in with your sash and your binder.
I worked so hard.
You really
worked
were.
so hard. I've got, I look at the binders that I wrote and the work that I did, and it's just the amount of time I put in was phenomenal.
Dad did all the homework.
Did all the homework.
That's right.
And that came out of something that I learned, which was supremely valuable from the program, which is the concept of effort, work effort. That's how you get forward in life, is you put effort in, and there's no getting around that. Some people
I wonder what modality Keith stole that from. We haven't figured that out yet.
I think they call that physics.
Yeah, it's a simple phenomenon, really.
Right. And I think the value, at least, in that arena that we're in, is you're not working unless you can measure tangible results.
Yeah.
Like there's virtual work.
Yeah.
And that distinction is valuable. Virtual work, which is a physics term, and then there's actual work where you have tangible results. And being in a community of people that are helping you measure your results and not bullshit yourself was valuable for me and all that stuff. So you couldn't sell yourself the lie that you were working when you weren't.
Yeah.
Through virtual work.
Right. Exactly.
That was one of the things. And if you had coaches that had really integrated that concept and could apply their acumen to how you were making decisions, you can make not necessarily decisions that were making you work harder, but work smarter.
Yeah. All of that.
Because hard work doesn't necessarily ensure success.
No.
If you're working hard, reality is going to tell you which direction to put that hard work, which is smart work.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I loved about the Goals Lab and all that other stuff in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you were also very diligent with your persistency. Those who don't remember, it's something you commit to doing every day, anything from flossing to 30 minutes of your taxes. What were your persistencies? Do you remember?
The big one was managing my reactivity, and that was done with a combination of skills which I learned from the program, one of which was token gesture, that you do for yourself, not for others, but you do some kind of movement with your hands or your body or whatever, which steer you in the right direction so you're not so fucking reactive to things, and you make considered decisions. So I found that very helpful.
I'm just giving you a gold star.
Yeah.
Well, you lose like 30 pounds.
You lost a lot of weight?
I did lose a lot of weight.
Yeah,
I lost 15 pounds at least. Yeah.
Because you cut out carbs, I think, and you were being consistent with that.
Ate less, exercised more. Yeah. And I mean, these are basic goals, right?
Well, everyone knows how to do it. It's getting the principles behind why you'd want to do it and getting you emotionally connected to it.
Yeah, exactly.
And constant reminders will do that.
Yeah.
And I recall you also had some things that were like, made you uncomfortable or that were red flags along the way that you kind of dismissed because the good stuff was good. What were some of the things that you didn't agree with in the dogma of the NXIVM program?
Well, behind the dogma, I'd heard that Keith was very much in favor of Ayn Rand, whose book, Atlas Shrugged, I read as a result of being in the program and found actually quite interesting. And there's some things about that view of the world, which is that humans are essentially creative, imaginative, and productive and inventive. And anything that gets in the way of those features of humanity should be, not accepted by society. But what she didn't and what the program didn't promote, well, it actually did talk about it, but it didn't promote it really, is the concept of interdependency, which is that everybody actually matters. I just find I get quite emotional around that point. That it's all very well to be strongly independent and pushing your narrative and making it work for you. And that's of a great value in society. And we have to do it bringing people along through our influence.
I think independence, I think we talked about this a little bit, is a misnomer. I don't think there's people that are independent of society. I think someone who's independent isn't seeing how they're an integral part of society. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense.
Independent is someone's psychology. Someone who thinks they got where they are by themselves lacks gratitude lacks understanding of all the people that have a thumbprint on why they are.
Good. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
Because there's a couple of people in my life that behave like that. I'm like, dude, it would seem to me with your level of success, there would be more gratitude and an acknowledgement of the people that got you to where you are. And instead of an independent, I did it on my own, us against the world mentality. I just think that's...
Well, that brings up another thought, which is that there was a lot of stuff in the program that in retrospect I realize now was geared to having people fall into line with his under the table activities in the program, namely the stuff that got him in prison. Yeah,
it was an obedience club.
It was an obedience club, exactly. So his idea that the definition that he uses of independence, which you succinctly redefined, is one of those.
Yeah.
So I know I'm skipping ahead like 12 years, but did you ever have any concerns along the way that you shared with people? I know that...
all the time.
Yeah. And what was raised to you? How did you deal with it?
How did I deal with their reaction?
Their concerns. And were you ever concerned?
Yeah, I mean, some of the Ayn Rand thing was a big one. The rejection of the climate crisis was another one. Those are big things for me at the time and still are. The whole creed notion that reciting a creed felt to me as an ex-religious person, a non-religious person now, but I was very religious at one point. In fact, I wanted to be a missionary when I was a 14-year-old. You know, how many 14-year-olds do you know that wanted to be missionaries? It stank of that kind of religiosity, which I have come to not agree with and don't like. You know, standing around reciting effectively a creed. Yeah.
Because you spent many years in boarding school and your dad being, as you said, an Anglican minister, reciting prayers and hymns. And we've talked about your wonderful late mom, Catherine Edmondson, Lady Sanford, and how, she had me baptized when you were out of the house, right? Just to cover all the bases.
She was bad. She
was very naughty. We love her very much, but she was making sure that I, wasn't going to go to hell, which is, she had good intentions. But I know you rejected all that, and maybe that's an episode for another time.
Well, I don't know about rejected. There's a word in German, Aufhebungen, which means to transcend, preserve, and abolish all at the same time. And that's what it's about. We take parts of civilization and we transcend, abolish, and preserve it.
I like that.
Yeah, it is. German's great that way.
Without rewriting it and persecuting people for it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
What's the term called?
Aufhebungen.
Aufhebungen.
Bungen.
Aufhebungen.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
So when did you, obviously you had these concerns, but you supported me and you had your own kind of experience with the tools. At one point you were going to be a coach and then you decided not to be.
Well, that was after I failed the test twice.
Oh, geez.
I got 33% and then 32% the second time I tried.
But also...
Which was a deliberate tactic, I think. Because you could become a coach even if you failed the test. Because it meant that you would become a coach, but you would keep taking courses to improve yourself. To get a higher score.
I would have given you the cheat code, Jim, if you had asked me.
But I think also Linda, my late stepmom, your late partner, late wife,
she nailed it right off the bat.
She knew from the beginning. She used to always say things like Keith, humanitarian, and I just thought that she didn't understand. She called him a charlatan from the get-go.
Yeah, she did.
But she was not supportive of your growth in the company.
No, she wasn't, not in the company. She was supportive of my growth. She experienced it too. I mean, she benefited from it. There's no question about that.
Yeah, but she wasn't keen on us doing this work together. I think that wasn't great for her, that we had this club that we were a part of.
Oh, I see, that she wasn't part of. Yeah, no, that was certainly a problem for her.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then you sort of stepped back. So you weren't super involved when we got out, if I recall. You hadn't been taking classes for a while.
I hadn't been taking classes for a while. And I hadn't been successful at recruiting anybody. I was absolutely useless at that.
Well, that's the other reason you couldn't become a coach. You didn't get your 2 people.
No, I don't think I got anybody, ever. The way I talked to them, they go, Jim, are you nuts?
Right.
Yeah, I got that.
None of my friends were remotely interested.
So when did you figure out that it was a cult?
Oh, I wouldn't have used that word. I from my point of view, it was still a very good, useful program for personal development. Just the fact that, at one point somebody took a photograph of all the people that were in Nexium and made up a collage of his face using their little tiny faces was, I mean, that was a pretty telling sign that something was wrong. This is all about
computer
him.
image. Yeah.
You know those things where they take a lot of little images and make a big image?
Yeah.
And that was hanging in the center?
Yeah.
Nothing says narcissist like an image of your face made up of images of your followers.
That's right.
Oh, that is so true. Okay. So moving right along.
Well, I was going to cut to the point where someone suggested an intervention with us.
Yeah, that we were still in. Didn't someone suggest an intervention?
That we do something about it, that we call it, that we say something about it. We talked about it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she was more concerned about it than I was, definitely. And we thought about things we could do. I didn't discuss it with Linda so much because she had never been supportive and sort of threw the baby out with the bathwater. I was holding on to the baby.
As you do.
As I do. Yeah. Yeah.
What was our wedding like for you?
The big one or the small one? You had two weddings.
The big one.
The big one?
With having all the characters there.
I think generally speaking, I'm against big pageantry, having grown up as an aristocratic son. I see the value of pageantry, obviously, but generally pageantry it doesn't really move me.
You and me both.
Yeah. But there is a value to having something like that in society. Like my grandson getting the award after the game where he scores a home run and gets 3 outs in baseball. Those kinds of things. That is pageantry at a small level.
Yeah.
But the big stuff. And that wedding was super expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Jim, I tried.
What was it like to watch us figure out that we were in a cult? This is from Rebecca Perry. To see your children go through something so harrowing.
It was very painful. Very painful to see, 2 intelligent people coming to a realization that they, had made a mistake. And I found myself wanting to do 2 things. One, which was to support you and nurture you and help you. And the other to just use everything that the program had taught me. And I know that you too were doing this for yourselves to take it down and take Keith down. So it was there was a feeling of immense grief and also immense determination, because this is obviously not just limited to the Nexium cult. It's a bigger issue in society, which I've been campaigning for all my life, which is making the world a better place and challenging abuse of power.
Aaron, you got lost on me.
Did you, it's my wife, your daughter, who was branded and then it was released in the media. You and I haven't really spoken about, I had my primal urges for sure. I've never really seen you get amped up unless the music's playing loud at Hornby Beach.
That one time. Yeah.
That one time.
I know what you're talking about.
But did you have that go on with you? Did you have I'm going to get on a plane and,
Yeah, and take him down. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't see myself. Yeah, no, that's a good question, because
it's a natural knee-jerk response. One I didn't really get to exercise.
I'm not sure that I can honestly answer that question immediately. I'd probably have to think about it. It wasn't so much taking him down personally. It was because you'd had much closer contact with him than I had.
Mm-hmm.
I really I'd had that one incident with the diagram thing with the marbles going there. That was it, really. I mean, I hadn't had any other personal contact with him at all. It was more a question of taking down the whole persona thing, and the system that went with it, which was suddenly in clear Technicolor, bringing mostly young women into a situation of abuse.
And from Christina Hambrick says, sounds like your parents handled it really well, which you did. Knowing what you know now, is there anything you'd do differently?
Good question. Yeah, I would say trust your critical, intuitive faculties. I wish I had trusted my critical, intuitive faculties earlier and acted on them and just raised those questions, raised those thoughts as questions more, and not being afraid to say to people who said, what does it mean that you're raising this question about you? And I say, well, what does it mean about you? Mm-hmm. What does it mean about Keith Raniere? What does it mean about the people who are at the center of the thing, that they are promoting this ridiculous nonsense of women who can't meet their goals have to lose calories as a result of not making their goals? That's just straight nonsense.
So you were aware of that when you were in it, the calorie stuff?
Yeah. Well, you told me.
After the fact?
No, during.
Yeah. I did?
Yeah.
Because I wasn't doing that.
No, you said that that's what they were saying, that Doss was saying.
But I would have told you after, because Doss was secret before we
did
it.
Yes. After it was out. Yeah, for sure.
Right. So what would you, from Jennifer McIntosh, hello, Mr. Edmondson.
Hello.
Any sage advice for a parent of an adult child who went through what we did?
Yeah, I think just basically that, you have your intuition. Your intuition is a very powerful force which gets drummed out of our operating. It's put aside in favor of science and in favor of rationality and left brain thinking. And all of my work as a psychotherapist has been, in retrospect, has been driven by the power of my right brain, which is primarily based on bodily reactions and intuition. And, a psychotherapist who doesn't trust their intuition is going to get, they're going to get somewhere, but they're not going to get very far. Mm-hmm. Trust your gut. Listen to your gut.
All right, Jim. What's it like to see your kid helping so many folks on the other side of the NXIVM shit show? And that's from Justin Underhill.
Oh, that's just great. It's that, and it's bigger than that. I mean, the concept of abuse of power is it's also fundamental to our existence. Is that people who've had power throughout history have oftentimes abused it. And if we can move forward as a world civilization without that, then that's great. And I see this as part of that the cutting edge of that movement. I'm excited. Are going to have to be some people that get taken down. Yeah. There's just no question about that.
And Beverly Sutton asked a question that's been asked already, but she also said, I understand that you supported Sarah and Nippy and their family in ways they really needed. Thank you for that. They've made a healing difference in the world, too.
Thank you, Beverly.
Thank you, Beverly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a funny combination of healing and a sort of almost aggressive, not aggressive, but determined and assertive determination. It's a two-edged process that you two have been taking on doing. Impressive.
Those were the questions from our Patreon audience. Is there anything that you want people to know as my dad and Nippy's father-in-law?
Yeah, just when it comes to power, look at the ways that power is being wielded. And if it's abusive, if your intuition is saying it's abusive, then use your critical faculties to figure out why and how it's abusive and fight those things.
Thanks for being there for us. Thanks for being a support system. Thanks for not judging us once. The last thing people need in this situation is a critic, and I never felt that once with you.
Good.
So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And probably in times when I deserved it.
You're your biggest critic, so I'll let you handle it.
That's probably true.
Dad, I love you. Thank you for teaching me to make the world a better place to live and instilling those values in me from day one.
Thank you, Vanguard.
No, we're not going to thank Vanguard. Fuck that fucker.
Patreon.